Barbie. What an amazing accomplishment this movie is.
It's insane.
As I said, directed by Gerwig, written by Gerwig and her partner, Noah Baumbach, who is also one of our favorite filmmakers. This is a story about Barbie discovering who Barbie is. It has an extraordinary cast, including a number of actors who I didn't realize were in the film when I was texting you both about it last night as we were preparing this episode. I'm not sure if it's helpful to run through every single person who's in the movie, but Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, of course, the stars, Kate McKinnon, Issa Rae, Alexandra Shipp, Emma Mackey, Dua Lipa, Kingsley Ben-Adir, memorably America Ferrera and Ariana Greenblatt, who play critical roles that I was not really aware of heading into this movie. We'll dig through that. Amanda, where do you want to start? What's the best entry point to discussing Barbie? I mean, I know you liked it.
Yeah. Well, should we try to summarize what it is? I tried to in the doc. And I think by summarizing what it is, and I don't mean in a plot sense, though, because you did it pretty well. It's Barbie trying to figure out who Barbie is. And then to a lesser extent, Ken trying to figure out who Ken is. And in those roles, they are standing in for all of us trying to figure out who we are as people, as women, as consumers, as what else?
Presidents, physicists,
sure,
corporate toy executives,
as men, I guess,
certainly as men,
in its own way,
as beach,
sure, as beach, yeah. It's like it is a coming of age story. It is sort of like an existential, not quite crisis, but investigation. It's also a feminist investigation of sorts with some pretty memorable speeches. It is a full-blown like IP movie. It is about Barbie the doll and Mattel, the corporation that makes Barbie. And it's also just a full comedy, like joke for joke, dense reference, like very, very tightly written. So there's a lot going on, which was delightful to me and was, even though I believe in Greta Gerwig above the power of almost anyone else living right now, I was not expecting like that level of complexity to what was sold to us as a movie about a doll. And I think part of the exhilaration of the movie for me is that it pulls almost everything off. And we're going to talk about Mattel and the dolls and the IP and the corporatification of it, but it's pretty much in every other way having its cake and eating it too. And I mean that positively. I'm just like, well, we're going to do all of this, and it can be all things to almost everyone. And that's just amazing. That's just really hard to do. It's hard to do this well. So I'm pretty in awe. And I say, and now that I've said all that, I can also say that it's just like really fun, which is the other thing, right? It is still like a great big budget time at the movies, even as it's doing all of that like intellectual like backbending that it itself mocks in the movie. So I don't know. It's incredible. I haven't seen anything quite like it. Joe, you haven't talked a lot about it, so you go.
Yeah, I mean, I just agree with you. I think it's a miracle, like what she was able to smuggle into a massive IP movie. And like on that on the criticism front, there are plenty of things that people have found to criticize about the movie. Like the main critique is, why are you falling over yourselves to praise essentially a big budget toy commercial, right? And I don't know if I'm just like making excuses or whatever, but I was just like, isn't it smarter to put your message about both women and men and the patriarchy and everything this movie has on its mind in such a glossy, everyone's going to go see it package, and then you reach the widest audience possible through it? Like I like Greta and Noah and Margot could have made a version of this story that wasn't Barbie TM, and how many people would have gotten the message the same way that they did, seeing it this way. So yes, Mattel is going to make a gajillion dollars in merchandising off this movie. Absolutely, that's true. And like, we can't ignore it. But I think the way this movie engages in the positives and the negatives of Barbie, is brilliant. The way that Margot Robbie as executive producer was able to shield, I'm sure Sean talked to Greta about this, but like shield Greta and Noah in the like creative process for them to write the story this way. All of that is just like I can't believe this happened. It's odd to say this about a bubblegum pink Warner Brothers Zaslav victory movie that it feels transgressive, but it does to me. So, yeah.
Yeah, our point of view on what it means to quote unquote sell out has changed pretty radically over the years. We talked about it quite a bit this year because of the number of product oriented movies that have been released. The connection that I've been trying to locate with Greta as a filmmaker in particular, I haven't quite landed on it specifically, but it feels a bit like REM signs with Warner Brothers, something like, you already were certified as one of the great independent filmmaking voices of your generation. Little Women is a big studio movie. It's an adaptation. And so this is sort of like, it's not out of time. It's automatic for the people. It's like...
Which is my favorite REM album.
Well, there you go. And
I love them all, including Monster. Hello, Chris Ryan and Andy Greenwald, if you're listening.
I love them all as well. And you can never take away the college rock bona fides of REM. And you can never take away Frances Ha or Lady Bird from Greta Gerwig. But this is a calculated decision in some ways, to Joanna's point, saying rather than writing yet another coming of age story about original characters, and I pointed out that I see some reflection of this in what Christopher Nolan did with Batman as well, choosing to identify a character or a piece of property and use it to catapult yourself, really. And to me, like, I think it makes a lot more sense, I think, for you guys to talk about kind of the idea of femininity and feminism that is communicated in this movie. To me, the movie is like a huge success of craft. It's like it's a handmade movie with craftspeople at the top of their game and two writers whose minds I'm just really interested in, having a lot of fun and doing an outsized old school Hollywood spectacle. The one other kind of movie that I think you didn't mention that it is, but you did mention in our document, is it's a musical fantasia. And it feels like a Busby Berkeley musical. It feels like Grease. It feels like Xanadu. Greta has talked about that. It certainly feels like the Gene Kelly movies that she loves so much, that you love so much. And so when you take those parts of it, when you think of like the constructed world of Barbie Land, and I'll say for my purposes, the movie is humming in the first 30 minutes and incredible in the final 40 minutes. And it's the middle of the movie when we're not in the place that is constructed where I got a little lost. But when she's in that place that she has spent so much time on, that her production designer spent so much time on, where Jacqueline Duran's costumes are popping, where we see the dream ballet near the end of the film, that stuff is like, one, there's very few filmmakers that are trying to do that. Two, there's very few that can actually pull it off. And three, it's exciting that in a movie like that, it's not a CGI explosion. It's a crafted experience.
Yeah. The other name we should say is Sarah Greenwood, who did the production design and created not just like the Barbie dream house, but helped realize, the hand-painted like scenery behind the Barbie dream house that gives you that like fake, but like neo-realist, almost intentional art that is this movie set. And I agree with Sean, like the making of it and the design is so integral to what the movie is doing, both as like a movie about a toy, but also just to look at as art. And I think that type of filmmaking is often undervalued. You do actually have to have the right color pink. You have to have like the house match the set and the car and the there's a Kyle Buchanan did a piece in the New York Times today with the production team, and they're talking about the proportions of
right
like of how tall Barbie is, and then the ceiling of the house and what that communicates to your brain about toy world versus the real world. And like that is like precise and exact, and I think many people would overlook it, but that is the level of detail that goes into what you're seeing that makes it so exceptional. So shout out to them. Amazing work.
And I think the color palette, they referred to it as Techna Barbie, which instead of like Technicolor, which I just like, they're like, we're gonna do this homage to the golden age of cinema or these beautiful Technicolor musicals, etc. But we're gonna do it through this pink lens. And it's so perfect. You also get the geography of Barbie Land so easily. Like you understand where everything is in relation. And yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. I also love the detail that instead of background performers, all the background performers are dancers because they could hold their body in a certain like sort of stiff artificial way that you don't know to look for it, but it just lends this sort of stiff artificiality to the world. I mean, they all had body movement coaching, all the Barbies and all the Kens and all the Allens, but like just the one Allen. But like, that in the background where you're not looking intentionally are these intentionally placed bodies. I thought that was interesting.
The shot of Margot Robbie going down the Barbie slide, and do you know how much Pilates you have to do to be able to hold that exact position with the legs out? Just
tell us.
Just like at least that's like 5 years of base work, Like Margot Robbie's been working for a very long time, and then I think she probably had a body movement coach in order. That is hard.
Yeah.
It just and she has the physicality as well down. I can't wait to talk about her performance.
Let's do that. Margot Robbie is one of the producers of this movie. It does not exist without her. There had been Barbie IP floating through the movie universe in the last 10 years. I think Sony had its hands on it for a while. And I think when their option expired, I think Lucky Chap, her production company, snatched it up. And so, she identified Greta and Noah as writers. And that ultimately led to Greta asking Margot if she could be the director of this movie, which Margot very wisely agreed to. And then, of course, partnering with Warner Brothers to make the movie. And she's also the star. And in the pre-release, in part because of Zach's wonderful story about Ryan Gosling and because of the trailer and the way that Ken was being positioned, there was a real pre-release hype around Ken stealing the movie. And there may still be some of that, but the best performance in the movie to me by far is Margot Robbie.
It's incredible.
I think she had the hardest task, and some of it I'm sure is due to Pilates, and some of it is due to the fact that she's such an exceptional actor.
And emotional depth,
yes.
By
emotional
the way,
Pilates.
Yeah, body movement is acting too. It's all part of the thing. I just think it's very hard. No, she has like a sincerity and also comedic timing and just like a winningness that the entire movie pivots around. And I think that she really sells a lot of the broader and maybe like slightly harder to reach on paper emotional moments, but she's just lights out. It's unreal. She should be nominated for Best Actress.
What's your Margot relationship, Joe? I don't know if we've had a discussion of her before.
I mean, I know I'm not like a Babylon head as you are, but in general, I loved her in that movie. I think she can do no wrong, honestly. I think she's absolutely incredible. I feel like in some context, we talked about Asteroid City and how like her scene was the very best part of that movie.
100, yeah.
And I not only admire her as a performer, but I really admire what she's done with her stardom in terms of Lucky Chap and like putting on all female screenwriting workshops and really trying to get like female creators to make not only any movie but big budget movies, for her to sort of take the reins on a Harley Quinn story. And whether or not, however you feel about Birds of Prey, like her active involvement in that character and in that storytelling is impressive to me. The fact that she took the reins on this, gave the pitch, likened matching Barbie and Greta to like matching dinosaurs and Steven Spielberg and her pitch to Warner Brothers, telling them that like, I love that, telling them that we have to address the people who hate Barbie as well as the people who love Barbie. Like that has to be part of the movie. So as a producer on this, I'm just so awestruck by her and what she's done, because she doesn't, for years and years and years in Hollywood, someone as beautiful and as talented on camera as she is, didn't have to do that. But she wants to do that. And she wants to create, better projects and better roles for herself and for other women in Hollywood. And I think that's really incredible, on top of just being a stone cold killer in every role that she's ever done. So,
will you revisit the stories of Harley Quinn in an effort to better understand Margot Robbie?
I saw it once, and I supported her.
Did you see the film The Suicide Squad?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I genuinely I'm not just trying to do like fake Gwyneth. I wasn't in Spider-Man. Like, but I literally like don't remember whether I saw that one or I saw another one or maybe I saw the sequel.
I don't know if you can do this with a straight face, but I also think she is genuinely amazing as Harley Quinn. So I've been on the team for a very long time. So it is exciting to see her do what, she's doing what like Warren Beatty did in the 70s, like it's just like I'm picking and choosing. And the same way that Warren Beatty was like, Heaven Can Wait. That was a film that was made in the 30s and I want to do my version. Dick Tracy, that's IP that I can adapt into this candy colored exploration of heroism and masculinity. And she's just doing the same thing in a really exciting way.